Hi everyone. So I have a whole bunch of fun Halloween and autumn themed projects to share with you today using some products from MFT's August release. If you want to know what the names of all these products are and what they look like in their packaging, check out my unboxing video, which is the video I think 2 videos before this one was published. So check that out. And we are just going to use those products and make some fun Halloween cards and a couple of gift tags as well. So for this first set of cards that we're making, we're going to use some alcohol inks. So I think that Halloween is a really great time to experiment with some different and bold techniques and colors, and just it's a good time to get a little bit wild with your card design. So I had the idea of trying to do a spooky rainbow card using some really bright and saturated alcohol inks. So that's what I'm using here. And the paper I'm using is some alcohol ink cardstock by Tim Holtz or by Ranger, and I showed you the packaging about a minute ago on this video. And the colors that I'm using are Twilight, Limeade, Sunshine, and black as well. And that's Flamingo, that pink one there. So I used all the colors of a spooky rainbow, and to make it super spooky, I added the black up at the upper left corner here. So I'm just playing around, and I have that little puffer tool that I got from Amazon just to blow the ink around. And now and then I'm kind of watering things down a bit with my alcohol blending solution. So I'm just really just playing around, and I think that's the key with alcohol inks. You just kind of sit and play until you get a design that you like. And I think I'm at the point now where I'm happy with this design. It gives me that spooky rainbow effect that I was looking for. So we've got all the colors represented, kind of going from the bottom to the top in rainbow order. And now for a little added oomph, I thought it would be fun to add some gilding flakes. So I have some Gold Nouveau gilding flakes that I don't think I've used in maybe 2 years. And I'm just pressing them down on the wet spots on the alcohol ink. So there are some sections that are a little bit wet, typically where the colors are mixing into each other, which is also a good place to add the gilding flakes. And I'm just pressing gently with my fingers, making sure not to smear the ink around to the extent that I can help it. And then I'm just pressing the flakes into the cardstock, and then, just wiping gently to get the excess off. Alcohol inks are really messy, and gilding flakes are really messy as well. And I figured, why not, since I already had the gloves on, why not just go all out and make a really messy design. So now there's an area on this card panel where I wanted to add a little bit more gilding flakes, but the alcohol ink had dried. So I just added a real thin strip of glue there, and I'm just going to press the flakes into the glue. If you do this, you want to be real careful not to smear any of the glue. Make sure that the flakes completely cover any glue spots that you put on. So if you can avoid adding glue, I would do that. But I was just kind of playing, trying to see what kind of designs that I could get with this. So now it looks pretty good to me, and I'm going to take it over to my paper cutting trimmer, and I'm going to trim it down a little bit so that it fits an A2 size card base, and so that there's a little bit of a border left over so we can see that green card base underneath it. I'm going to pop up our alcohol ink panel on some foam tape here. So I'm just applying that to the back, and then we'll just stick it right on top of our card base. And I think I left about 1/4 of an inch border all around the card. Usually I'll use maybe 1/8 of an inch, but for this one I made it a little bit bigger of a border all the way around. So this is the little ghost that is also part of the August release, and I'm just going to add the little cheeks to the ghost. There is a die cut that you can use to cut out some little pink cheeks if you choose to. I'm just using my jewel picker to add them on. And then we are going to use one of the Halloween Sassy Pants greetings that is also part of the August release. I actually, at the beginning of the weekend, I just embossed all of the greetings in the Sassy Pants stamp set, and I decided I was going to try to make a card or a gift tag or some project using every single one of those. So you're going to see a lot of the Sassy Pants greetings in this video, including this one, which I think is so cute. Let's get sheet faced. And then we have our 2 little ghosts. So now we're going to make another version of the card. This time we're going to add a spider web on top of our alcohol ink background. And this spider web was just released as part of the MFT vault in the past week. So you can pick up this die if you like, or maybe you already have it since it was released in the past. And I'm just adding some thin lines of glue along the back. I'm using some black cardstock to cut out this die cut. And then I'm just going to attach it over our alcohol ink panel, having the black part focused on the top. And then we're going to use some lavender cardstock for our card base. I just love purple and greens and oranges for Halloween. And now I have an action wobble mechanism. I'm going to attach a little ghost to that and then attach the wobble to the front of the card. And it's okay that, you know, you're attaching it over the spider web. It will adhere just fine. And then we have another Sassy Pants greeting. This time it says, if you've got it, haunt it. And then we have our little ghost that kind of can wiggle around. And I just love that. And the action wobbles I got on Amazon.com. I think you can get them in packs of 100 if you like. And those are 2 alcohol ink cards. I just love them. I think these are so fun and festive, and I just love the bright rainbow colors with those little gold accents from the Nouveau Flakes. Now moving on to card 3, we're going to use an older stamp set from MFT Stamps. You may have this already at home. And this is I think it's Beautiful Friends stamp set. And we are going to color in our little witch using some Copic markers. And the design we're going to use here, we're going to use some of the new pattern paper for Halloween that MFT Stamps just released. We are going to use a Sassy Pants greeting, and then we're also going to use that spiderweb die cut that we used in the last card. So now just to focus on the coloring, I colored in our little witch's face with some E21 for the base, and then I used some E13 for the contouring, like the area underneath the hat and on the sides of the face. And then I made her a brunette, so I gave her some hair with some E23, E25, and E27 for her hat. And for the outside of her cape, we're going to use some cool grays. So we're going to use some C7, C5, and C3. And the method that I'm using is the edges of the hat are going to have the darkest color. And then as we get closer to the center of the hat, we'll use our lighter color. So it's a real easy method. You just start with your darkest shade on the edges of the image and then work your way inwards with the lighter shades. And that will help to give the hat the appearance of being rounded and dimensional, and it'll also add a little bit of shading as well. So now for that area right underneath the buckle on the hat, I also did shade that in as well, just because the little buckle would add a little bit of shadow. And now we can move on to her cape. So we're going to color the outside black using those same cool gray shades that we used for the hat. And then on the inside, we'll use some purple. So I'm using violet V15 and V17 here, just a 2-color combination, pretty simple. I have to say I still haven't found a purple combination with Copic markers that I just love. I feel like purple is a really, really hard color, just to kind of find exactly what it is that you're looking for. I find they either look a little bit too washed out or too pinkish. So I still have not found the perfect violet combination, but someday I'm sure I will. For her little dress, we are going to use a base of YR12. So we're gonna have a little orange dress for our little witch, and then the little accents on the dress and on her stockings are gonna be some bright green, using that combination that I love for Halloween, black, orange, purple, and green. And then I did add some little ruffles to her dress, and I did that just by adding a streak of a darker orange in the areas where I wanted the creases or the ruffles to appear. And then for the band of the hat, we'll use some of that purple again so that it matches the inside of the cape. And then we'll make a gold buckle with that Y15, and then we'll color in her broom with some different shades of yellow reds. So we'll use that Y13 or Y15 for the base, and then YR27 and YR24, and then our darkest shade we'll use is E25 for the very like edges of the broom area. And I think that those colors combine really, really nicely to make it look like it's, you know, a real broom, like real straw in there. For the pumpkins, I used a base of Y15, and then we're going to use a contour color of YR18, and I'm just going to color over those little ridges in the pumpkin with my darkest shade, and then work my way inwards in each of the little sections of the pumpkin with lighter shades, trying to leave some highlights of that yellow exposed. And we're going to do a couple kinds of Copic coloring in this video. So in this video, we're doing the traditional black stamped images. And then in the next card that we do, we're going to make an autumn wreath with some no line coloring. So it's another interesting look that you can get with your Copics just by stamping your images with an ink that will not show through your coloring. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then we're just going to color in our little crescent moon with some yellows and a little bit of gold as well along the edge. And we're not going to use all of these little images in our card. I thought that at the end of the day, I just wanted to stick again with our color theme. So I thought that the best little critter to accent our witch would be this little frog, because then we have a little critter we can make green. So I'm just coloring him in with some yellow greens there. Adding a little shading to the edges of his eyes. You could also leave that out if you like. And then I'm going to take the die cuts that accompany the stamp set and then just run it through my die cutting machine. And so here are all the little pieces that we need to assemble our card. So I've cut everything ahead of time. So the sheet with the lettering on it has all Halloween words, and that is part of the pattern paper pattern paper pack that MFT just released. There's also a stamp that is exactly the same, so it has the exact same words. So if you wanted, you could also stamp your own words onto a piece of cardstock if you preferred to have the stamp instead of buying the pattern paper. And then we have our sentiment. It says, "You're not a basic witch." I just love that. And then we're just gonna arrange our little die cut pieces around the bottom, popping them up on some foam tape. And so we have some pumpkins, our little frog, and then we're gonna put the crescent moon up in the upper left-hand corner. And that completes our design. I just love this card. I think it's a perfect little Halloween card, or I guess you could give it to a girlfriend for any occasion when someone needs a little pick-me-up, especially if it's autumn time. Okay, so now we are going to move on to our autumn wreath, and you just want to draw a circle in the center of your card panel. And I just left the bottom of the center open because we're going to stamp a pumpkin in that area. So I'm using Jellyfish ink by Lawn Fawn. It is a dye ink which means it won't wash away when you color over it, but it's still light enough that we'll be able to color over it. And I'm using stamps from the Autumn Blessing stamp set that was part of MFT's August release. I love these stamps because they're so user-friendly if you want to use them to make a wreath like I'm doing here. The images actually seem to follow the exact curve that you need to make a nice wreath, and they mix and match really, really well together. I only had to mask that pumpkin to do this design because the images fit together so perfectly. So now we are going to do some no-line coloring. And to do no-line coloring, you start by coloring in the stamped part of the image with the darkest color that you're going to use. This is just one way of doing it. There are, as you get more comfortable with no-line coloring, you don't have to start out this way. But for me at least, this is a little bit new to me, so I found it was easier for me to color over the stamped image in my darkest shade just so that I could see the image better when I was coloring it. It's a little bit hard for me to see without the definition. And then we're just going to fill in our pumpkin with a whole bunch of different golden shades and orangey shades to make a really, really nice color for autumn. So our pumpkin's going to be more on the golden side than the orange side. And then for our greens, we're going to use some YGs, YG 95 and then YG 93. And then a little YG 99 for a little bit of contouring and contrast there. I find that this range of oranges fits really, really nicely with these YG 90 shades. They give you a real realistic look. And then we're just going to color in the little leaves underneath the pumpkin with those same green shades, leaving a little yellow highlight in the center, and then a little shading underneath the pumpkin itself with a darker YG 97. And now for the leaves, first we're going to make some green leaves. So we're going to use those same YG shades that we used for the leaf on the pumpkin and the leaves under the pumpkin. And then we are going to move into some brown shades, and I'm going to show you my favorite colors for making brown leaves this autumn. And then we're going to move into some golden shades for some of our other leaves. And it's going to give us a really, really nice autumny color palette by the time we get to the end of this. We'll also add in a little bit of a purpley brown using some E70s that I'll show you when we get there. So I'm just going to add the little veins in the leaves with the YG 99. And now we're going to use that brown combination I was telling you about. So I'm going to outline the image in E55, and then we'll fill it all in with E31. So E31 is my lightest tone, this E57 is my darkest tone, and then the E55 is my mid-tone. And I just am really, really loving this combination for fall leaves. Gives you a really, really nice caramel color. Just makes me think of like pumpkin pie, like the cooked dough of a pie, of leaves, just of acorns, of just everything autumny and good. Okay, now we're going to make a little golden cluster of leaves. So we're going to color those in with the Y21. And then we'll add a little shading with this Y28. And then we'll take a Y26 and that's our mid-tone here. So we'll just fill in towards the center, leaving the center nice and light and yellow, letting that Y21 show through. And then we just blended it together a little bit more with the Y21, added a little more Y26, made some little veins in the leaves, and that looks good to me. So now here's that purpley brown I was telling you about. So we're going to outline our leaves with E71, leave the center open so we can fill it in with a lighter shade, the E70. And then we'll add our shading with this E74 and also add some veining to the leaves as well. And then we'll make that little stray leaf on the side a little purpley brown leaf as well, using that same color. And then we'll make a little brown leaf here just to kind of tie the whole design together so that we've got a nice range of colors all across the wreath. Now, I'm taking one of my wonky dies to cut out our card panel, and then I'm going to use this Hello Fall stamp that's part of the Awesome Blessing stamp set. I stamped it with some cocoa ink by Hero Arts, and then I thought it'd be fun to add some gold accents. So often we add white accents to our stamped images when we're done. I thought it'd be fun to add some gold accents here. It doesn't show up that well on camera, but in real life it's real pretty. It's a nice look. And I just traced over the letters with it and then just added little highlights on the pumpkin and the leaves. Then I'm just going to color in that curly Q with an E47 on the pumpkin, and that completes the design. And I'm using a fog card base here in case you're wondering what that color is. Very nice, simple, elegant, autumn themed card. Okay, for the fifth card, I did not film this, but I used the new Slimline die, or the Slimline starter die from MFT Stamps. And that little track that I cut out, I used one of the pieces in the Slimline die set, and I just placed my little ghosts on top of that. And now here are two little tags that I made. I used the new Rolling Cloud stencil and then some of the ghosts from one of the new stamp sets. I don't remember the name, but it is in that unboxing video I told you about. And that is it, everyone. So these are the cards that I made using all the products, or many of the products, from MFT Stamps August release, as well as some other favorite stamp sets and dies from the past. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that this video gets you all excited for making Halloween and autumn themed cards. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments what you're working on. And that's all for now. Have a great day, and I will see you again soon in another video.